Well, thank you, Devin. So perhaps, have you ever wondered why some people seem to get back-to-back colds? Well, since we're heading into flu season, Nurse Christina Paris is here to talk a little bit more about immunity and the immune system. So thanks for joining us this morning. Always happy to have you. And yes, it is important to talk about all these colds that are flying around.
Right.
So,
I was just going to say that usually the week of Halloween I talk about scary things, and to me right now this is
it's the back-to-back colds, just never getting out of that cycle.
Right.
Hey, honestly, you know, a reasonable fear.
Right.
So, what is the immune response, and what part of the body is responsible for this reaction that you get when you get these back-to-back colds?
Yeah, absolutely. So, our immune response is how our body responds to foreign pathogens. It can be bacteria, viruses, funguses, anything that comes into our body, and our body develops this amazing immune response that jumps into action. And so I like to think of it kind of, if you think about a big event, like a Taylor Swift concert, for example. So you're gonna have, as you're coming into the concert, you're gonna have like barriers. There'll be maybe some fences lined up, some things, so that our body has things similar. So we have nose hairs to keep things as we breathe in from getting into our body. There's cells in our stomach lining that keeps foreign bodies from getting in. Our saliva has a certain pH that fights and kills. So that's kind of the boundaries. Then as you're coming in, maybe somebody might knock down the fence. You know, they think, we want to get into this concert, they knock down the fence. So then you're going to have security guards. So again, that's going to be our body's immediate response. The security guards are going to come and say, wait, you got to back up, you got to stay out. So our body develops this kind of a response. And at the same time, they're going to call for backup. They're going to call for, you know, the police, the military to come in. And that's going to be more like our white blood cells.
Oh, okay. So they're the big guns.
They're the big guns. So they're like our military. So the white blood cells. So we're going to have things like our neutrophils, and they're going to come in and they're going to eat up or gobble up. Think of the Pac-Man, the little viruses. So they come in and they start to destroy what's going on. So maybe the crowd is taking over. They're spilling now out of the fences into the body, you know, these foreign things. And so our body's going to take care of them, our military. And then we have like an FBI system. So somebody who's going to take pictures and go, you know what, this virus is bad, let's keep it out. This virus, this bacteria is bad, let's keep it out. So we develop memory cells. These are our B cells and our T cells. And those are our memory cells, and they're going to identify and know. So our body develops these crazy immune response. We have inflammation, we have fevers, we develop all these symptoms that we're gonna see. And it's just our body's reaction. It's pretty complicated. I know,
so it's just all the different aspects of a crowd management.
It is.
The big event of the human body.
It is. It's a big event when bad or foreign things like bacteria, fungi, viruses attack our body. We develop a huge response.
Well, interesting. So what does it mean to be immunocompromised, you know, looking at that when it doesn't quite work out?
Right. Yeah. And so we're going to see that with things like allergies. So our body's going to produce the histamines. Those come from the eosinophils and basophils. Those are type of white blood cells. So they're going to create this histamine response. And when we develop allergies, so it's an immune response, and it's usually to a harmless substance. So it's something that our body is perceiving as bad when it's not. And so we're going to have the sneezing and watery eyes, runny nose, and those are all ways our body is going to fight off these things. We're going to cough. Then you might have autoimmune disorders. So this is something like rheumatoid arthritis, lupus. These are all diabetes, actually. Yep, these are all different types, celiac disease. and multiple MS. These are just examples. There's many, many, many more. But what happens is it's our body malfunctions. It mistakes parts of our body for something bad. And again, you're going to have things like fatigue. Symptoms will also include joint pain or muscle weakness, inflammation, and you might develop a fever. Then there's other foreign substances like cancer. These are cells that they get funky. They're cells that grow and they can uncontrollably grow in a abnormal way. So abnormal cells that kind of take over. At first, our body is pretty good. It can come in and it can kill some of those cancer cells. It does pretty good, but cancer cells proliferate so fast that it gets to a point where your body can no longer. And different cancers grow at different rates. We know so much more about cancer, and so we know that some can be taken care of. And then of course, with cancer, they've developed immunotherapy, which is really specific to those specific cancer cells. And so we've come a long way too. There's chemotherapies, but there's also immunotherapies too. Chemotherapy just knocks out anything it thinks is bad, and immunotherapy goes for those targets, those specific cells. So we've come a long way that way.
All right, and speaking of coming a long way, one last thing, vaccines, you know, how does that fit into everything here?
Right, so absolutely. So we also know now that the immune response can take anywhere from 3 months to 1 year. So when you get sick with, say, the flu, and I've had flu and COVID this summer, so
You've covered your bases.
And I'm somebody who used to never get sick, and I was exposed to everything all the time. But my doctor said, look, it can take 3 to 4 months to recover. It's sometimes up to a year, some studies have shown. So our bodies need prior exposure. That's where the vaccines come in place. So if you get like a flu vaccine, while there's many shifts and drifts in these viruses and they change and mutate, you know, we had the original COVID, now we have Omicron. We've had type A flu, type B flu. So getting those vaccines will help kind of jumpstart that response. You know, your body knows it develops something and then it recognizes it much easier.
Well, there we go. So lots to be on the lookout for this season.
I'm sorry, this was a huge topic.
You know, hopefully folks, you know, you don't get your colds, you know, you don't get the flu, don't get the COVID, you know, and you just stay healthy the whole fall. But
absolutely,
you know,
I think
sometimes that doesn't happen.
I think the big takeaway is if you get sick, just know it can take a long time for your body to recover. So if you're exposed to other things, just take precautions. If you're somebody who is at risk, wear a mask, hand sanitizer, bleach your house.
There we go. All the due diligence. Well, thanks for coming on this morning. Appreciate you taking the time. And we've got a lot more coming up right after.